Hello and welcome. Come in, ladies. Welcome to the first day of the Femme-a-thon. I'm excited. So as you're coming on, we'll wait just a minute or two to get you to catch up. And please say hi in the comments box so that we can interact with each other during these live streams. I am having some tea, some grateful heart from Mountain Rose Herbs. I'm sensing this might very well be the tea for our Femme-a-thon. Say hello when you're coming on. Grateful heart. This is what I'm drinking. I'm not a distributor or anything. I just love these guys. Mountain Rose Herbs, as you say in American. And that's what I'm drinking today. Jump on in, say hello. Excited to see you all here. Who have we got here? We have got Alma, Dewani, Liv, Pamela, Alana. Welcome, come on in. Keep saying hello as you join us today. We will just wait a minute or two, grabbing yourself some tea, as I am always drinking tea from the Queen Bee mug. I'm going to make a competition soon that you can win a Queen Bee mug, but not quite yet. Let's do our Femme-a-thon first. Who else have we got? Okay. Alana, Alma, hello, Amanda, Anna, welcome Anna, and Dewani, hello ladies, beautiful. So keep announcing yourself as we jump on in here today. And today is going to form, it's our day one. It's day one of the Femme-a-thon that I've ended up extending because I had a bit of an emergency that I have to head to the end of this week, which I thought initially was a disaster. And then I went, you know what? I'm going to make this a 2-week-long thing. I'm going to share with you live streams, videos, and a masterclass at the culmination of our time together so that you can, by the end of this 15 days together, really know what's going on in terms of your feminine power, what's in the way of it, what sort of myths, mistakes, and misconceptions you might be thinking, or in fact, you might have been taught out there, or we've been taught as women out there. And so that's my job, my delight for you over these days to share with you. Okay, good. So what I want to do is jump on in. I always love to respect your time. And so as you're jumping on and as you're finding the stream, grabbing yourself some tea, as always. I have tea here in the Queen Bee mug. So jumping on in, grabbing yourself some tea. Welcome here to the Femme-a-thon. This is a play on the concept of a marathon, or maybe we can call it a man-a-thon. So what we're doing here instead is a Femme-a-thon. And what I want to provide for you over these 15 days is a whole support picture on you, your feminine power, your feminine energy. And over the process, we're going to be doing live streams. I'm going to be sharing with you some videos that have been pre-recorded. And at the culmination of this, you're going to be invited into a one-day masterclass, okay, in which you're going to have 3 times to jump on and join us in the masterclass, okay? At the end of this, I'll also be offering you a very special offer to be able to join the Powerfully Feminine Sisterhood, and which is sort of another level of intimacy and depth beyond Smart Savvy Feminine Woman that I'd love to invite you into via the Powerfully Feminine Intensive. All right, let's see who else is on. Anna, Pamela, Senamari, Alma, you seem to have found us again. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so let's dive in because I want to create some foundational support here today for this education pathway that I want to provide for you during the Femme-a-thon. And over this time, what I essentially want to make sure that you have clearly understood by the end of our time together is I want to discuss and dispel, hopefully, many of the myths, mistakes, and misconceptions about feminine power and energy. And I do implore in you that if you have questions that come up as a product of any of the talks or live streams that I do for you, put them in the comments box because then I can respond to you. And in fact, I'm going to do this in a way that's fairly responsive to your requests, okay? And we're talking about feminine power and energy in and of itself. In this particular pathway, I'm not going to be talking so much about dynamics in relationships, etc. That's a different level of the work. What we start with, as I always say, is we start with the inner feminine. Your relationship to yourself has to be first, preeminent and primary before we start discussing how that works in relationship dynamics. Okay. Okay. So if you're new here, which I added 67 women this morning into this group, which is just beautiful. So we're welcoming the new women into the group. And if you're new here, you've jumped into the middle of the Femme-a-thon, which is a 15-day live stream video and masterclass series that I'm conducting inside of the Smart Savvy Feminine group. Okay. So essentially what I want us to, get to or have as a overarching question here over the Femme-a-thon is, how the heck did we get here as women? And what do we need to do to fully embrace our feminine selves again? That's like the background question that all of this is going to be answering for you. Okay. Okay, beautiful. So today, what I want to discuss is this topic. 2 reasons why I've found again and again the false feminine starts in women, in the line of how the heck did we get here, okay? I'm going to take a drink from my tea. If you haven't met the Queen Bee mug before, this is the Queen Bee mug. And I'm going to do a challenge at some stage soon so that you can win a Queen Bee mug. Not at the moment, not for the sake of the Femme-a-thon at the moment. Now, if you are brand new here and you don't understand or haven't heard of my model of the false and true feminine, let me just briefly go over it for you. So tomorrow I'm going to talk a bit about my personal story so you'll understand how I've come to these models and conclusions and arts and skills that I'm here to teach you about how to become powerfully feminine. One of the things, if we rewind back for me as a corporate woman, I was first corporate in Australia, and then I became an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. But essentially, everything that I sort of came from, no mentorship, no feminine role models as a woman. And then I entered the corporate world, corporate Australia, corporate America, corporate whatever, ever. And then I applied the same sort of methodologies to my own businesses. I realized that when I came to my conclusions and why I burnt my energy out, which is my greatest passion here, which is to stop you heading down that pathway, was I realized that I wanted to become more feminine. But one, I had no role models, first and foremost. And secondly, I realized that there was so much confusion out there about what the heck masculine and feminine meant. Now, again, rewind me 21, 22 years ago, I've been trained in a spiritual path that includes a very specific esoteric type of astrology. So I've been an astrologer for over 20 years. And in our style of astrology, we teach or we learn about what's called the lower mode and the higher mode of every single planet, every single planetary force or energy behind the planets. And so when I was looking out there in the world going, wow, there is just so much confusion out there. Men don't know how to be men, women don't know how to be women. Nobody seems to have role models. They seem to pendulum swing between things that aren't even really quite right for them. And I had this huge epiphany one day from this model of my astrology background, which is, oh, there's a lower mode and a higher mode of feminine and a lower mode and a higher mode of masculine. And if that is so, what does that mean and what does that look like? And essentially in this model, similar to the astrology model, what you're seeking to do in a pathway of transformation is move from the lower level, or what I call the false feminine, to the higher level, the true feminine. And inside of the planetary forces model, that's totally possible. Like that's what we seek to do. We seek to elevate ourselves into the best of ourselves, into the best of our astrology chart, which is a representation of ourselves, okay? And so this is how the feminine archetypes model was born. And so what we have is the false feminine, which has 2 archetypes, the maid and the princess, and we have the true feminine, the queen and the priestess, okay? And I'm not going to be going into detail into each one of those today, but let's just say what I am going to talk about is how did we fall into, or how do we in fact get stuck in the false feminine level? Let me just check in on you quickly before I continue. All right, we're good, we're good. And if you're liking what I'm saying, I love to get feedback, okay? Although I am teaching you, give me thumbs up, send me hearts, put in comments, say, oh, this is giving me an aha. That feeds me when I'm on a live stream. So the reason why I come on live and not just send you a recording is that I love to interact with you. So let's interact together as we're discussing our topic today. Okay, good. So as there's a lot to continue, let's continue. So the question is today, the 2 reasons why the false feminine starts in women. Now, what I've seen after doing 20 odd years of astrology, but also a very specific metaphysical type of therapy with people, is that these both happened when we were young, sometimes even pre-verbal. Pre-verbal means we would not necessarily have cognized how this happened. But that's what I'm here to illuminate for you today in terms of dispelling or illuminating how we became in the false feminine. And remember, in the model of the true and false feminine, we can get triggered. We can fall into the false feminine at times. So we want this model to be one that's compassionate and caring and illuminating, not one that it becomes judgmental, okay? So the first reason is if as a child or as you were growing up, you didn't have feminine role models, what happened is we started to look outside of ourselves for those things. We didn't have a name for it. I wouldn't have said I'm looking for feminine role models or I'm looking for some sort of way to be. You know, how do I be as a little woman, as a young woman, right? And so we look outside of ourselves, and then we're also looking for validation in an ever-changing world. And we were seeing things that we couldn't categorize, so we didn't have a model or an idea as to, well, that doesn't feel quite right, but that feels better, or that doesn't feel quite right, but somehow I'm being told that in being like that, I'm going to be validated, I'm going to be loved more, and I'm going to get what I want, right? So if this resonates with any of you, give me a thumbs up or a hearts or an aha with our first reason there as to how the heck we ended up in the false feminine. Wanda Marie, welcome. Camilla, welcome. Dorota, welcome. Alma. Camilla says, I love the nail polish. Thank you. Okay, so we get a bit of a delay here, so letting me know if that resonates with you, okay? Beautiful. I'm going to take some more tea. Bree from Boulder. Wonderful to have you here, Bree. Anna. I do get ridiculously tickled by the love hearts, just so you know, just a little thing. Because what happens is when I am doing a live stream, the love hearts float across the screen and they float through my heart, I've noticed. It's very sweet, very super sweet. Okay, I do have this thing where it's hard to sometimes. Shaza, hello, welcome. Your emojis are being weird. Well, okay, that's okay too. Pamela, yes, I felt so at odds in high school and university with what I was being told. Yes, and also remember, Pamela, it's maybe what we were being told verbally, but one of the biggest things is we were being shown things unconsciously and energetically as to how to be, how to behave, how to turn up, okay, in a way that the world was telling us. And remember, when we're speaking about the world, we are speaking about the predominant masculine dominant paradigms. And again, if you're new to my work, I'm not here, I'm never a male basher, I'm not masculine bashing. It's just an observation of the world that we live in In fact, I'm a great adorer of the true masculine. I teach about it in a program called Arise in Your Queen, and I teach about it in the Powerfully Feminine Intensive, okay? Because we need to understand that inside of ourselves, we have the forces of masculine and feminine. And we're not here, even in this work, believe it or not, in the Powerfully Feminine work, to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We're not here to throw out the masculine. We're just here to learn how to stand in the true feminine and the true masculine. All right, I'm going to continue. So we're answering a question right now, which is two reasons that I've seen again and again why the false feminine starts in us women. The first one we've already discussed, and that is that we didn't have feminine role models. And just before I proceed from there, this doesn't mean female role models necessarily. This means women who have mastered the feminine arts and skills to be in their feminine power, right? That's why I call it feminine role model and not female or woman role models, okay? Now, the second reason is that there may have been trauma in your childhood. Now, this could have happened through sexual or emotional trauma, and this can cause in us a huge fear and self-preservation or coping response. A survival response that is in the background of everything that we do, and that is often what we build our very personality on, let alone our beliefs, our values, and our actions, okay? Now, this can lead to a couple of things in women. This can lead to them being what I would call oversexed, in the sense that they end up having a lot of sex, but it's very much sort of through this fear-based or masculine lens. Or they can end up very cut off from their sexuality, that they don't feel confident in their body, in their sexuality, or in their feminine nature and feminine power, okay? And these two things that I've seen, of course, they can both be at play, right? Now, they were at play for me. I didn't have sexual trauma, but I definitely had very severe emotional trauma as a little girl. So I had neither the feminine role models, and I was pretty much left alone, which was very traumatic as a child, okay? So just letting me know if you're brave enough to share with us if either of those sexual or emotional trauma pieces in childhood, or in fact growing up through childhood, which means anywhere through the teens, that you relate to. Pamela says, this is what I feel was going on when I was even younger. I wasn't told specifically, but I felt certain pressures to be a certain way to be successful. Exactly, Pamela, absolutely. Bree, so true. Trauma has built my false feminine. Yeah. Camilla, yes, I was cut off from it. I'm embracing it now. Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, ladies. And for some reason, I'm not seeing the emojis today either, so we can big thumbs down to Facebook today, despite the fact that it's allowing us to do this. It cut us off once and now it's not showing us any emojis. What are you doing, Facebook? All right, lovelies, good. So, if you have questions at this point, please pop them in the comments box. Essentially what I'm wanting to do here is to create some context for you. I often call myself the context queen. I love creating context, because that's the sort of foundation on which we can have an aha or a realization or an epiphany or an understanding. Oh, okay. And also, you see, when we have context, we can also bring a lot more compassion to ourselves and to others. So through the model, the lens of the false feminine and the true feminine, I emphasize this again and again. We don't want this to be something that becomes a judgmental model, that you see other women out there and go, oh, she's totally in her false feminine. She might be, but maybe if we saw that and went, oh, wow, that's the false feminine. Oof, I feel compassion for her. Oof, I feel a lot of compassion. I resonate with that, right? Okay. And of course, you know, when you see a woman stand in her true feminine, you can go, wow, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what it's like to be able to be like that all of the time. Liv Chris, beautiful. Some emojis in the stream. Okay, lovely. Bree. Beautiful, beautiful comments. All right, I'm going to continue with, okay, where we want to head with this. So essentially, I'm wanting to keep these streams to like 20, 25 minutes because we've got a lot to discuss over the next while. So essentially, what do we do about this? So if we discover that we have either of these two things, we didn't have feminine role models, or we've got some sort of trauma that can get triggered as an adult, remember. So even if this happened as a little girl, we have things that can trigger us in our life that take us right back there, right? Okay. So that's the work that I had done. You know, I do this with women, this trauma work individually also, okay? But these are the two things that I've seen that are really, really powerful to help us to get into the true feminine. It's essentially two things. The first is we need to learn, or really relearn, the feminine arts and skills to be feminine. As in, there are arts and skills that are different faculties, different ways and means, different ways of being, moving, communicating with others. And of course, there's a whole relationship to our self piece that is preeminent in the true feminine work. Okay, so in order to stand in our queen, there's a primary relationship that we need to get back into, which is that with ourselves. There's a learning of being in a relationship to yourself that is loving, caring, and empowered. And, you know, I often do this gesture of false feminine to true feminine because there is an elevated experience inside when we stand in the queen. Akin to, you know, in the false feminine, we're in the forest and we can't see anything but the trees in front of us. And in the true feminine, we stand up and we can see the forest for the trees, as in we have a much broader vista of ourselves, of our queendom, of our relationships, of our communications, and you start to get a broader vista of your sense of purpose and of your life, okay? The second thing we need to do that I have found to be so beautiful, simple, scary for some people at first, and yet so powerful, is that of having a supportive community or sisterhood to consistently encourage you into your true feminine self and power again and again and again. Now, I have seen women who will, for example, they'll purchase my program, the Powerfully Feminine Intensive, and I create an entire support network of a private sisterhood, of Zoom community calls, coaching calls, constant feedback, constant support by the community and myself, and yet they don't take me up on that piece of it. And I'm pretty sure that them getting more knowledge about feminine power is not going to change things very much. I don't get to interact with them, so I often don't know the outcome of that. And maybe it's the thing that starts them on their path, and I'm happy to provide that for them. And yet it's my observation that those that embrace the community and the sisterhood, even if it's terrifying to them, even if they haven't trusted women in the past, even if they believe that women are just catfighting and competing with each other, read false feminine, they embrace this and they courageously go, okay, I wonder if I could be in sisterhood in a way where I relate differently to women. And when I learn to both support and be supported by other women, I wonder what that would be like. Okay, beautiful ladies. So where are we at? Pamela, I'm looking for my sisterhood. I'm really lacking feminine energy in your life. Yeah. Noreen, welcome. Hello. Do we have any feedback or questions at this point before we finish up our day one of the Femme-a-thon? So essentially what I want you to muse about after our first live stream today is what of those two triggers or those two things in your life are true for you, that you did or didn't have feminine role models, or many, or infrequent. as a child or as you're growing up. And if you have any emotional and or sexual trauma that may be affecting your confidence and your relationship to your body, to your femininity, to your sense of power or empowerment as a woman. Pamela joined a dance troupe. It was scary. I've learnt dance since I was 7, but now she's doing it. Anna, having a group of strong women friends has helped me through a lot of healing. Absolutely. Beautiful, ladies. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up here today. So much love to you. Thank you for joining me live today in our day 1 of the Femme-a-thon. And if you are indeed listening to the recording, please also respond in the live stream. I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow at the same time. I'm going to go a little bit more into my personal story and how I came to this for myself and why I have created this very space for us as women to investigate our feminine power and energy and to elevate each other into our true feminine power. So much love from my heart to you. Big whoosh from my heart. And I will see you back here tomorrow. Sending so much love. Bye-bye for now.